Hey, hey, hey. So here we are. Oh, we're live and let's see. Let's make sure we're connected here. And we are. So, welcome back. I am charismacares nurse practitioner, and I must say I am late today. Life just keeps lifing, and we just gonna let it do what it do, cause we can't change it. So we were supposed to go live at 7:30. Then I changed that to 9. And as life will have it, here we are at 9:20. So, whoever is meant to be on here will be on here. So let's see, what are we talking about today? Well, today I kind of have a special topic for you. Um, if you have watched me for a while, you will know that I am a big part of the expat community and just living abroad. This is what I want to talk to you about today. For those of you that are in a space where you're like, I want to leave my job. Maybe I want to leave my city. Maybe I want to leave this my life and create a new life. And that's what we are talking about here today. Is creating that new life. Because for me, I had this thing after my son was born. Things would just, and my son has special needs, things just weren't the same. Like, even with me and my daughter, the things we used to do, we couldn't do anymore. The ways that we used to do things, volunteering, even that I wasn't doing anymore. It just really changed my life. And, many times I would say, okay, well, I got to create my new normal. Okay, well, now I'm going to create my new normal. This is it. I'm doing this because what I knew to be normal was no longer normal for me. So the only way that I could justify it in my mind was to say, hey, Charisma, you're creating your new normal. So today I want to just talk a little bit about that. Have you ever felt like you just wanted to pack it all up and start fresh? You wanted to go a new job. You're tired of the job. You're like, this is it. I'm over this. Maybe a new city. I'm here in Atlanta, maybe trying Houston, Texas. Everybody seems to love Houston, Texas. I would say try California, but it seems to be so expensive there. But or maybe even a new country. For me, I've lived maybe in 7 or 8 countries now. I have visas in Rwanda, in Kenya. I'm doing my residency in Mexico. I just need to finalize that. And I'm actually looking at doing citizenship in a African country here soon. So I'll be following up with you about that as well and letting you know that process. But trust me, this is not where I started. I started just like you, thinking, man, I really want to. I don't like this flashing thing here. Let me see if I take this off, if that'll go away. I really want to live abroad. I really want to move abroad. I need something new. So, I'm a single mom. It's not like I was married and, had two incomes. Now, I'm not going to say I wasn't doing well as a nurse practitioner, but, I was getting tired. I was getting burnt out. Um, it was one of those things where I was trying to find myself, and it wasn't through my job. It wasn't through my American dream where I had the houses, the cars, and the white picket fence. I felt like there was more to life than that. There just had to be more to life than the American dream that we know. And that is where that journey started. And for me, it was when my daughter was in ninth grade, and I think my son was about 6 or 7, that I said, well, we're going to live abroad once my daughter graduated from high school and got into college. Because my son has a disability that gets worse over time. And my understanding at the time was that it starts to get worse during teenage years. So I was like, well, hell, we just going to live our life now. We're not going to wait until The normal trajectory of life is that you go to school, you get your degree, get your job, you get married, you have kids. But because I was told that his disorder has a decline, as he goes on, kind of like MS in a sense, I said, oh, okay, then we're going to go ahead, live life now. We can put school in there and the rest will fall in place. And although even before him, I've always wanted to live and travel abroad, having him made it real, saying that I needed to give him this life. And for my daughter, she loves stability. Like even now, she'll come and visit. She's not trying to stay, she's not trying to live abroad. So I didn't want to pull from her. I still wanted to give her a life of stability because who knows that our children are different. What one needs, the other doesn't need, or vice versa. The good thing is, with my children being about 9 years apart, I could do that. I could raise my daughter in Atlanta in a stable environment. And then when I was done with that, not that, y'all know we still got to give money to the college students and all of that. But so we're not completely done raising them. But when I was done with that, then I could turn around and raise my son in a world schooling and homeschooling environment and travel around and do these different things. So, I say this to say, if I can create this life, you can create this life too. It's not impossible to do it. Now, I know a lot of you feel like you're stuck. You're stuck in these 9 to 5 jobs, the exhaustion of just clocking in for years, jobs that you may not even love. You do it because of the paycheck. And that dream of building that life you want feels free, it feels peaceful, and it's on your own terms, right? And you're not wrong for that. You're not wrong for wanting to leave a job or a city that no longer serves you. We are not trees. We can move. We are not stuck. We are not cemented into the ground. We can move. At this point in my life, I consider myself a nomad, because I'm always traveling around and I know that I'm capable of leaving at any point in time. If I don't like a place, I tell people planes don't just fly one way. If I don't like a place, I can go, and I will say with our little blue passport book, I read an article today, is the weakest that it's ever been, I think, in American history, our little blue passport book. But there's still a number of people that accept us. Now we have to have visas for some places. But those places were, you put it in visas in even before Trump, if we're honest about it. It's gotten worse since Trump, but there's still a lot of places that we can go, but this is also a reason why you may want to look at citizenship in another country or getting visas in another country or residency. Because if they go to shut the doors, you'll already have your in. So, that's something I want you to think about as well. And that's definitely something I can assist with. But what I want you to know is that, you know, we all have a story to freedom. My story to freedom is I tell people I'm like a butterfly, I just float along wherever I want to. But that's not the case for everybody. Some people need stability, like my daughter. Some people are like, I'm moving to Portugal and that's where I'm staying. I'm moving to Mexico and that's where I'm staying. And that's fine too. For me right now, I'm in Kenya. Is that where I'm going to stay long term? No, but for a couple of years, yes. But that's what serves, I'm not even going to say serves me, serves my son because he wanted to go back to school. And, we do things for our kids, right? But we can make these decisions. And you can live in countries like I have in Mexico, the DR, in Panama, in Kenya, in Rwanda. That is definitely possible. The question is, how do we build this life of freedom? Well, That depends on what your background is, right? So for me as a nurse practitioner, I've worked in a number of places. I've of course worked in the medical field with oncology and um, psychiatric care and hospice and ICU. But I've also worked at making policies and procedures. I've also worked in management. Basically, people say I've done project management. So I've done a number of things that have created my portfolio. And the way that I live my life of freedom now is through real estate and through Holistic Breakthrough Wellness Clinic, the holistic clinic for women. Now, the clinic is not really my bread and butter. That is what I do, that's just close to my heart, that I want. I felt like as I watch more and more expat women, Black expats, what I found is that they were leaving America to go to this wonderful place, be it Paris, be it Panama, be it Costa Rica. And what they found was that when they got there, they were still in pain, they were still lost, they were still distraught. And the thing is, wherever you go, there you are. So if you're dealing with depression, anxiety, mood swings, and all of that in America, you're going to deal with all of that on the beach with a coconut in your hand in, where? Brazil. You're still going to deal with it. You're just going to deal with it in a different place. Now, I will say, in my personal opinion, healing is easier once you leave the States. You have more tools at your disposal for healing than when you're in the States. There's so many things to make you unhealthy. The food that's provided, the lack of exercise, the stress, all of those things that are there in America are typically worse than anywhere else you're going to go live. So for my clients that are in America, we tend to have to work harder and be more creative in healing than my clients that are in Costa Rica or Rwanda, or Ghana, because you're already surrounded by a more calmer environment. There's already cleaner foods. You have access to low cost healthcare, low cost labs, and things of that nature. So there is a stark difference between those that are doing their healing journey in America and those that are doing their healing journey overseas. But regardless, it's a healing journey that we can get through together. So that's one side of what I do. And the other side is really my Charisma Cares brand. And a lot of people know me from that because I used to do my YouTube and talk a lot about my travel and living abroad. I still travel and live abroad, I just don't talk as much about it. But a big, big proponent of that has been my real estate. It's been my Airbnbs here and overseas, land that I bought in Rwanda. It's been apartments that I've invested in, syndications here in America. So I receive dividends on the apartments, the land I'll build on once the airport is ready. The Airbnbs give me that month to month income. So these are all things that are readily available for me. And these are things that are actually fairly simple. If you own your own house or condo, it's very easy to Airbnb it. For example, I live in Kenya. I have my own condo there. I have a 3 bedroom. I put all my stuff in 1 bedroom, locked it up, and I Airbnb'd out my condo there. So basically, I'm making about the same amount of rent that as I pay, even though I'm only renting out 2 bedrooms. So, that's already making me the money. If I rented out 3 bedrooms, I can make even more money, right? So, these are the things that we can do and put in place. When I first left America, some time ago, I did the same thing. I had my house and I prepped it for guests to come into the Airbnb. I did not know if I would have guests or not, but Lord and behold, I ended up having someone for a month. And not only did they pay my rent, it gave me enough money to stay in Costa Rica for that month. And then the following month, I had someone else, and that gave me enough money to stay in Panama. So that became kind of like my hustle. I was like, wait a minute, this is giving me a good amount of money. And with this money, I'm able to live very comfortably where we are overseas. And so it's not necessarily we're going to take our job to another country. It's not necessarily we're going to be hired in another country. Actually, it's more likely you won't get a job in another country unless you're working for an American or European company. Because one of the reasons you go to these countries is because it costs a lot less to live in these countries. So, you can't really go over there and take the locals' jobs because one, they don't want to give them to you because they're for the locals, and two, you really can't live off of that money. So a lot of times it's taking the skills that you have and that you possess and using those in a way that will be most beneficial to you to make you the money that you need. And for me, that was real estate. And now it's gone into my holistic clinic. And so this isn't just about moving and being in a new location. Like I said, this was something that had to do with health and the health of my son, peace and happiness. It was so important that I needed to take this risk. Since we've lived abroad for years, my son no longer takes the medication that he needed to take. Now, will he need to take it later in life? That's very possible, but he's been able to stay off those medicines for a few years just through healthy living, being mindful of what we eat, doing supplementation, exercise. I sometimes will have him do meditation and things with me. I show people this wheel. Let me pull it up for you. It's the functional medicine wheel. When they say, well, what is it that you do or how do you do it? Well, the fact of the matter is we have to we have to be able to look at all areas. And when I'm looking at all areas, I look at these 11 different areas. So take my son, for example. He wasn't experiencing stress, y'all. He's good to go. Not gut health, not emotional, but detox. There's foods that, we eat here that in America that just really aren't healthy for us. At this point, I don't know the last time we had McDonald's. It's been years. But detox was important to get all of those impurities out of his system. And detox can sometimes take months. But really, you think about people that's gotten through these natural disasters and been exposed to all of these different things in their system. We think about all of the toxins that we take in, the plastics, the BPA, all of these different things, they need somewhere to go. So detoxing. Mental, that is something that I think about with him having mild autism. Then there's exercise and getting into movement. This isn't exercise necessarily for weight loss, but this is exercise for holistic care. There's sleep, relationships, spiritual, supplements. That's something that we did. And I tell people supplements are used to supplement. So first we work on your nutrition and then we work on the supplements because we're supplementing. And so it's important that when we're looking at our health, and if that's what we're moving for, if that's what we're leaving for, if that is a driving factor, your emotional health, your physical or your spiritual health, these are the different things that we need to look at and take heed of. And these are things that I dive very deeply into and figure out what are the top three areas of your life that are going to make the biggest difference that we can focus on. So that's what we do when we're dealing with that. Now, when we're looking at your peace, oh, that's your mental. Your mental is so important. The overwhelming feeling, the depression, the anxiety, the stress, all of these things play a major role. And sometimes, that exhaustion just isn't about work. It's your soul calling out to you saying, I need something more. This is not okay. I am not happy here. And this is where I come in and I said, let me create this program, because not only was I seeing, Black women struggle, but when I first left the States, I found myself struggling. I found that, myself thinking the same thing. If I leave, everything will be better. And I looked around and everything wasn't better. Now, where I was, it was beautiful. I loved living in that condo, going to the beach every day, but mentally everything wasn't better. I was still suffering. I was still dealing with some emotional issues, and I was in a good place to do the work, but I had to do the work, and that is what I did. I did the work. um, and it took months. It took a while. It did take a while. And after that, after I did a lot of soul searching and a lot of deep work, the type that I do with my clients as well, I also came back to the States and I did some trauma healing. So I worked with a therapist to work on some trauma. So, one thing that is different when I work with clients, I have a therapist that it does a is she does body tapping, brain tapping, and that works on trauma. Because what I found is that, especially as Black women, we all carry some amount of trauma, whether we want to admit it or not. We carry that trauma around with us, and we react based off of that trauma. So it's important that when we go on this healing journey, we're looking at the all the things I talked about, the nutrition, the gut, the detox, all of those things, but we're really digging deep into the emotional and working on some of this trauma, because we need the clarity. We need to regain our energy. We need to make sure our health is intact. I was just talking to Soul Sisters yesterday, led by Anissa, a group of women 50 and older. And we talked a lot about um, healing, and one reason I went to functional medicine is because I know that combining it with my experience and with looking at it from a mental health lens, that we could really get the clarity that we needed. So, what I want to ask you to do is, I want you to take a moment to write down your dream life vision. And you sometimes have to think about that. I would say take a moment, close your eyes, and really think about your dream life. I know for me, years ago, I had this dream of my dream life, and I always can remember it because I was sitting at this big, beautiful office desk, dressed, professional, but very beachy. I don't know, the professional beachy. And behind me was an emblem of my brand. And I was on a private beach, private jet. Oh yeah, well I dream big, right? But that's okay. It's okay to dream big. It's your dream. It's your dream life. Who's to say it will never happen or you will never make it close to happening? So I want you to think, what is that dream life for you? I was on that private beach. I could walk down. The kids could walk down, and my son wasn't using crutches in this dream. And the sand was nice and white, white, warm sand. And we were able to just walk down to our lounge chairs while our jet sat over to the side. Like I said, you're gonna dream big, girl. Dream big. Um, and that was my dream. And I aim towards that dream. I have no idea where it is, no idea if it'll truly happen, but I aim towards that dream because it is my dream. Um, and then the next thing I want you to do is I want you to identify what's draining you the most. And this was a big thing yesterday when I spoke with the Soul Sisters because it's what or who is draining you the most. Because it may be who. It could be your family, it could be your spouse, it could be your children, it could be your parents. You need to know what's draining you the most. And you need to know where you need to draw boundaries and where you need to say no. Where do you say enough is enough? When do you take back your power? And that's important. So I want you to make sure you do that. Write down who or what is draining you the most. That may be your job. Your job may be your energy vampire, but that's something you need to identify. And then the last thing I want you to do is to commit to one small change this month. Are you going to meditate once or twice a week? Are you going to try some yoga? Are you just going to take a long bath? Are you going to read a Bible verse? Are you just going to sit with yourself for 20 minutes a day and just see what happens? What are you going to do for yourself? And this isn't go to the spa, go hiking, go on a trip. This is what's one small step, something that you could do right now wherever you are. What is that one small step? That one small step may be taking time to breathe. Because right now, if we take a moment and take a deep breath, mm, did you feel that? Did you feel everything slow and calm down with that one deep breath? Yep, that one deep breath. Let me know how that felt for you. You'll tell me in the chat. So, I want to tell you that I'm proof that you can start over and you can have your new normal. You may have to do your new normal 5, 6 different times, like I did. Um, I was doing my new normal for 10 years, but I went from feeling stuck to creating a life across continents. And you deserve to feel that freedom too. If you're just tired of just living on autopilot, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, what is that? That's the definition of insanity. Then we can take time to talk about what's really holding you back and build your plan to move forward. And for different people, this will look differently. If you're like, maybe I need to look into the functional medicine, the medical, the mental, the emotional health, you want to book a breakthrough call. But if you're like, you need coaching, you want to learn more about real estate investing, Airbnb, um, or maybe you want to learn how to travel abroad, you need mentoring, then that's my link there, linktr.ee/charismacares. I'm starting to lose my voice. You can go on there. You can book your breakthrough call if you need to. You can book your real estate call. You can book your travel call. And if you have family members with disabilities, you can book a call to talk about that as well. So that's it for today. That is my time with you. I thank you so much for being with me. I know we started late, but I feel like we're put in the places where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there. So, as far as I know, there's somebody here that wasn't available at 7:30, but guess what? At 9:30 they were. They were available and they got what they needed. And I am so happy about that. So next week, I'll be revealing something big on our Thursday live. We're going to try again for 7:30. Next week is about perimenopause, so make sure you're here for that. But I also will be revealing something big that's going to be going on in the month of August. So I want to make sure you're all here and you learn about it. And I'll probably give you a discount for being here. So for that, with that being said, I will see you next week on Thursday, God willing, 7:30. And you take care of yourself. And thank you so much for being you. Ciao.